Good evening, DAOverse. Welcome to my garden. This is the House Party. And with me are a bunch of party people known for building and managing and creating the MetaFactory. But for a different energy this time, it's not just Drew and Hamad talking about the same things over and over again. This time, we invited the entire family. How are you doing today, Mr. Meta Dreamer? Are you happy?
I am doing amazing. More than happy. Chilling. It's
chilling.
like the weather here is like it like snowed yesterday and it's like plus 20 today, and it's like a rainstorm, and then it's just like all over the place. So it's kind of like the markets, but it is what it
Weather
is.
is following the markets.
The weather is frothy in Canada.
Yeah.
And look who's here, Mr. Taxon. How you doing?
Sunny, 98 degrees, ready to go outside and go hiking, even though it's only 11 a.m. Welcome to sunny Scottsdale.
No problem.
I found a new barber. She keeps me tight like a robot.
What beard oil do you use?
Badger beard oil, the only one for healthy men like myself.
Nice. We need some MetaFactory beard balm.
Actually, Rachel can make MetaFactory beard balm, and we can send it out. That's we're gonna
Let's do it.
Yes.
As long as you're willing to take care of fulfillment.
Beard. Oh,
This
of course,
is-
yeah, for sure. Beard balm for robots.
This is how we design and make products.
I'm
Like,
wouldn't be the
bro.
craziest thing.
literally going to write up a spec doc for this right now. But there's so many people that buy beard balm from MetaFactory. Like, come on.
I'll let my beard grow again just for that.
You just
I used to
have
have
your mustache, dude.
No, I used to have a beard that went like, I had no neck, went all the way here, and then people in Berlin would go "Salam alaikum, Buddha," and I was like, "Malikum salam." And
Yeah, we're gonna need pics.
I'll circulate, not live on twitch.tv/DAOhaus though. So welcome to my garden, as I said before. How are you doing today, Mr. Deacon Bro and Van Gist? How are you doing?
Doing great. How are you?
We are the type of people that get really happy when the market tanks. Like that's who my friends are.
Yeah.
Whenever the market tanks, they go like, "Yeah, that's awesome."
Focus. Yeah.
Our like group chats have never been more active than when we dumped 50%.
Now we can hire devs again.
Yeah.
It's true.
Welcome,
Right?
guys.
For real though, I do miss like the bear market vibes, you know, back in East Denver days.
Same.
Those are good times.
When memes become more important than tech, it's time for a flush.
Oh, I don't know. Memes plus tech forever. Come on.
Yeah.
All your dog tokens are more important than what the hell. Trust me, it becomes a problem.
All your tog tokens.
I have to confess that
Lay
doing
down
some
with tog tokens, you get please.
doing some ironic late night DJing, I did hold 3 different dog tokens for a moment, and I cut a profit. I hold none at the moment. It's great. But
like
I
musical
like
chairs.
dogs, so it's okay. Yeah.
Musical chair. Exactly.
Well, guys, we're gathered here today, and I think this is an important episode, although we are coming at it with a very lighthearted vibe, because I need to show to as many people as possible that the DAO life is real. And the right people to show that the DAO life is real are here today. And we would love to take questions, so I'm going to pay better attention to the chat, which is the house party chat, if you're wondering. And you're all very welcome to just open your mics at some point. If you become disruptive, we might have to do something, but I think it's never going to happen because it's just good people in here. But we usually start every episode with announcements from Van and Deacon about whatever happened in the last week at the DAOhaus Verse. What's up?
Well, I'm currently designing some swag for DAOhaus or with collab from MetaFactory. That's what I'm currently working on, like literally right now.
Live on set.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I guess
Well-
our room's full now because I can't share my beautiful face anymore, but that's okay.
Oh, there's a max camera. So I'll close my camera so people can see.
Yeah, I don't want to. It's all good. But
Well, you know, it's very important to me to keep up with your hairstyles. So please don't let me miss out.
I'm wearing a hat.
Well,
No
one
worries.
person that hasn't said anything yet is one person that I care deeply for, and it's very important for the future, present, and past of MetaFactory. Penguin, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having us.
Of course.
One of the things we did this week with Penguin, actually, which will be of interest probably to this crew, is that we've started a grant with Rarible, and we're doing we've been exploring the creator, curator, collector kind of DAOs, and so we're doing a integration of Rarible into the DAOhaus platform, where every DAO will be able to have their own gallery and be able to sell and buy NFTs together. And then we'll have like a big giant gallery for all the DAOs, NFTs collection. I think it's interesting because like people working together to buy an NFT, like to hunt down that diamond in the rough, adds this level of curation, which is kind of in some ways missing from the NFT market right now. You can have a DAO that gains some reputation as like premium collectors, and so when they're finding these new NFTs, they're actually curating it and actually, can be adding some kind of value and appraisal kind of ability to NFTs.
I think like that's been a huge part of MetaFactory too, where because we work with all these different communities and projects, we get to kind of sum together the social capital of all of them. Because we did that sushi drop, and because we did the Wi-Fi drop, and because we do these like iconic things, and that brings more legitimacy to anyone who does a drop on there afterwards, and also like cross-pollinates these communities where people in the sushi community might not have known about all these other drops happening on MetaFactory before sushi did the drop. So it's really powerful for like MetaFactory, as we've kind of become curators in a way, where because MetaFactory is doing the drop, it brings way more demand and legitimacy and like appeal for these drops, versus if someone were to like copy paste the exact same thing and drop it on their own, it might not have that same emotional response from the community than when it does with MetaFactory. And I think that's what we're starting to see with these collector DAOs and NFTs, and we'll start to see in other places as well. And even like Metacartel, like OG Metacartel, like the whole value that we provided was our like curation of these dApps and these projects that came out in the community. We were a grant style, we did give money, but the money was kind of just like a drop in the bucket compared to the value of the social signal we gave to all these projects we work with, which are have turned into like some of the biggest DeFi protocols and real game changers. And I think that sort of reputation, legitimacy is what is so awesome about positive sum DAO curation.
Yeah, I think
it's called
with to go back to our proposal with Rarible, it went really well, and I think it's up on a snapshot today or maybe next week. So if you're a Rari DAO holder, go check out the proposal. And House DAO's or Uber House will be actually probably matching that too. And the team is me, Penguin, Vin, Isaac, and Owen. Which Isaac is doing a really cool project. He's not on the call right now, but you guys would probably be interested in it. It's a more physical NFT goods marketplace. So like I can go sell my OG jacket if I wanted to, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he's building that also. So anyway, some cool things there happening.
Yeah, thanks for that. I think the curation game, like things like Flamingo DAO and like MetaFactory, are super powerful because like it's educated people that are making like smart decisions, right? It's not just an NFT collector that stepped into it It's a whole bunch of people that are coming together that make smart decisions with their money and are pooling their money to make decisions that no one could collectively make.
It's
like
actually
every-
it's a lot of fun too. I made a kind of proof of concept with Nifty Inc. on XDAO. And the people that were playing with it kind of internally, I haven't released it yet, but it's just a lot of fun. You know, you go out there and someone finds an NFT and they propose it to the rest of the crew, and they're all like, "Well, that's kind of stupid, actually," or "Whoa, that's awesome, you found it," you know. And it's just like it's really engaging side of DAOs.
Yeah, it's like, you know, I forget who said this, but someone said that, you know, DeFi and Web3 is one of like the greatest MMOs ever made. And, you know, because it's like a game, and games are so much funner to play with friends, and, you know, DAOs are a great way to like have, you know, a clan or like, you know, a guild or, you know, a friend group that you can play this game of Web3 with, whether it's collecting NFTs, you know, whatever it is you might want to do.
Chasing dogs.
Chasing dogs, yeah.
Playing demons.
Yeah.
Killing rats.
And yeah, like kind of the thing you said about you know, curation game, I think right now, especially like people new coming into crypto, like 95% of people who are interested in crypto are kind of interested in purely from like the buy and sell token, speculate, kind of passively, you know, get some yield, that level of participation. And then, you know, there's the whole other like amazing world of like actually contributing and being a part of it, and, you know, not just trying to speculate on others' value, but actually being the ones to create that value, you know? Like think about like if 95% of people are just speculating and making huge bank off of the 5% of people that are creating value, imagine how much more value would be created if, you know, there was 10, 15, 20% of these people creating value instead, you know? It's actually a way higher leverage thing to contribute than just to speculate on others' contributions. So I think, you know, the curation game that we're building out and other similar mechanics that reward active participation instead of just like passive, you know, farming or speculation, like those are going to start to become the meta in the next like 6 months of, you know, crypto, and, you know, really help people level up and differentiate, and, you know, have that like deeper stake into like the crypto future we're building, outside of just, you know, holding tokens.
So much opportunity too, right? Because it's like still at the very beginning, we're just scratching the surface of it. Yet, let me just clone this platform or project and wrap a different like look on it and UI. It's just, I mean, but sure, but there are so many untapped opportunities in what this is and what it can be. It's super exciting to see it starting to bleed into legacy, because I think it's like, this is the game of life, not even like Web3, right? It's just the tools are getting better, the mechanics, the trustlessness or codified trust, the idea of ownership, these things are all evolving, and seeing how like NFT platforms are becoming social platforms, or social platforms are looking at NFTs. This is super exciting because you're basically like changing the concept of ownership around, like, because the social media platform, I now own these posts that I'm making, I now own these images I'm putting up. You're basically paving way for sovereign decentralized identity, which just, again, at the social and cultural level, what this is about to unlock is it's amazing.
Yep.
And it's really just the beginning, but I can start to feel it accelerate. Sorry, Penguin, go for it.
Yeah, no worries. So just like we described all the stuff
Hey guys,
that happened,
I definitely have an NFT that I'm eyeing on, and that I can probably not afford on my own, and it is really aligned what you guys are talking about here. I've been chatting all week with a guy called Dimitri Danilov. He's not such a famous photographer like in the outside world, but he did do all the PlayStation ads. He did the cover work for Daft Punk, and there's this really amazing story about him. The shoot he did with Daft Punk, and that then later got used by David Bowie. He kind of got lost. He lost control over that image, and then now he created an NFT to reclaim that image for his work. And the way I got sucked into NFTs was in 2018 when I was approached with a DeFi project called Safe Haven back then. And I was really passionate about royalties and how NFTs one day would be able to reward storytellers in terms of royalties, because I've had some personal experiences on that level that where I could really connect with that pain point. So to get to the point, right now Dimitri is auctioning some of his early NFT, some of his early images from that shoot with Daft Punk, and for me they really symbolize everything why I got sucked into NFTs, because he's trying to reclaim the ownership of his work through that NFT. And we've had an incredible, a couple of incredible brainstorms this week. And anyone on this call who connects with that story that I just told, please DM me, because I would really get some funds together to be able to afford one of the NFTs.
Anybody who wants to look at the deeper sense of reclaiming lost IP, DM Eve. I think you should also put the link on the house party chat. But Penguin was about to make a point, and because I work with I work with Penguin every week, and sometimes I roll over him. I'm going to actually try to redeem myself. Penguin, give me a point.
So one of the things about like NFTs is empowering creators. I think that's kind of like the first step of like where we were last year, and we started to get creators empowered. And this is kind of the next step. We talked about like DeFi money Legos a lot for DeFi summer, and this is the DAO Legos. So like you're one creator, he might have been amazing, but now this is empowering a whole community of creators to align and give them new tools that they can help kind of reduce friction and enhance coordination between not just one coordinator, but an army of coordinators.
Yeah, I think like one of the most impactful things we've done in MetaFactory, and we see clearly can be a testament to this, is like bringing in people from like the traditional like world who don't have exposure to crypto, who don't know how to get in, who, like they're not even interested in the token side of things, but giving them an opportunity to like create and get involved and do things and get compensated with like ownership of this platform that they're contributing to in a way that's like, completely, it's like 10, 20, 30x of like whatever they would get, in the traditional world where, people are paid based on their replaceability. People don't want to distribute ownership. They don't want to give upside to other people. They want to keep it all for themselves. With MetaFactory, it's like, the power of where we got today was because we distributed like so much ownership of the platform and of our community and so much of the upside out to the community. So, you have like, we're working with these like pattern makers, these like fashion designers, and these people who are, they would maybe expect to get paid like, a few $100s just to like come up with these patterns and stuff. But instead they get like many thousands of dollars of like ownership of this thing, and they didn't even expect it. And that is their first exposure to crypto rather than the whole like, trading shitcoins part. Like, I think that's like such an amazing way in which like crypto, especially like the type of crypto culture we're cultivating in DAOs and, in these spaces to breach into the real world and to bring people in from that avenue. And, MetaFactory going this route of like creating this like business of like a merch shop, it lets us like reach into areas that crypto normally doesn't touch, which is like the whole fashion industry, supply chain, production, these real world things. And we got to reach people that aren't inside the crypto bubble, versus just like, DeFi protocols and a lot of these crypto products that are serving just crypto people. And because of that, it creates these like on ramps and these like avenues for people to see what crypto is really about in that way. And even we see clearly they just like came into our Discord. We're like, hey, I'm a fashion designer, or I have this stuff, and just like, and then next thing they're like contributing and pushing forward MetaFactory in a way that like even a lot of us weren't thinking. And just having that opportunity to just like hop in a Discord and then become like essentially like a co-founder of something and have that ownership and you have that sort of collective shared interest in the success, and focusing on really how can we make this as dope as possible, instead of like all the bureaucracy of like, oh, I need to like figure out, send my resume around and like, figure out my salary, like negotiate, go do like 9 to 5 minimum amount of work that makes my boss happy enough so I can get paid, and then maybe try to do some side things on my free time to like what I'm really passionate about, into this like new sort of world of like the future of work, where people's like passions and interests and what they're really aligned with are like hand in hand with work, and them getting like compensated and having like a way to like sustain themselves. These micro economies, essentially, where in the last like 10-20 years it's been these like huge tech conglomerates and like really centralized ways of doing things, versus now you can have a bunch of really small DAOs focus on niches and what they're really excited about. They don't need to have 100 million market caps. They can have 100,000 market cap, and that's like that can sustain people. We have these tools to have these like micro interactions more efficiently. You don't have to deal with paperwork, all these sort of things. And that's a really powerful part about tokens that we've only figured out after going through the bear market. In 2017 ICO, we just used tokens for doing token sales and never really thought about how can we actually make the most of these things. And it was in the bear market that we thought outside of the box, like really, instead of just thinking on what's the biggest alpha right now, where can I get the most returns, thinking on like how can we really create sustainable systems that can revolutionize how we coordinate.
It's interesting, like talking about bear market and community, like the things that we did in the bear market and how they've like equated to the things we do now is like all of us being like early core meta cartel members, and where it was like our kind of thing there was like community first. Why aren't things community first? Like, it's the bear market. We're not worrying about tokens. We're trying to figure out new things. And it was like, well, community first is the thing that like these global networks being able to transfer funds. And this is the thing that's missing. But it's interesting how like we got together in Meta Cartel, and we were just like giving away some money to people to help build things community first. Like we've all gone on, like if you look at the first 10 members of Meta Cartel, like I wonder what like our project's like total market cap is, because you guys, us, you got like Mage, Peter Pan,
DeFi Zap or
Zapperfy, like
Sablier.
You include them, then it's like ridiculous, but it's pretty crazy, that lineup, and it was really based around the community first idea, and like all of our projects mostly have gone into like a community first.
Yeah, I remember a scene when I was still to understand all of this, and I was working for a specific company, and I was thinking within my salary and my role, etc. I went to give a talk at the same event as Peter Pan, and it was right around the time Libra was being like not launched. People were talking about launching Libra, and Peter Pan, first thing he did was create a fake official Libra channel on Telegram.
Oh yeah.
And he was just answering that channel, and he was doing it so much. I personally watched Peter Pan hit a post, like a lamppost, with his head while trying to answer all the messages in the fake Libra channel. It was I will remember this scene forever, because I usually hit lampposts because a beautiful lady walked by, and he was just like, no, he was like, dude, shut up, all my friends on the internet, I just want to ship stuff. And I was like, come on, man, relax. And he was like, no. And eventually I got it. Yeah.
And to like the power of like starting communities and like building them from a community first point, that's one of the powers that MetaFactory really has, as we can take new communities that are forming and help empower them right from the start, through merchandise launching and like token rewards. And like we do that basically based on the community, right? If a community is well aligned and they've got people that are friends and doing things the right way, then we're more welcome to helping facilitate their launch, making sure that they get the cool stuff that they deserve.
Yeah, we have that alignment in DAOhaus too, for sure.
I had a thought to share. Can people hear me?
Yes.
Cool. So I'm an artist and I've been doing projects on Kickstarter for like 3 years, and I've been learning a lot from this marketing guy named Seth Godin. And he's all about sort of like you basically reconnecting to the conversation. You're talking about DAOs that are formed based on niches and sort of like creator, collector, curator, all bundled together into the same entity. I think that something that's kind of important is particularly, I'd guess, for like MetaFactory and probably others, is like you guys have really great tools and everything, but the target audiences are kind of limited right now to DeFi speculators and that kind of thing, because people are already, like, I'm targeting those people because they already have money, they're already fluent, they're already here, you know? And so me making products for those people is an easier win, but the real expansion has to do with, like, an example would be like I know for a fact that there are a bunch of like LGBTQ erotic comics / graphic novel people, and they do like $100,000 campaigns regularly on Kickstarter. Like, it's a strong like group of people, you know. um if you plug in the tool sets that people that you're discussing here, like MetaFactory and DAOhaus and Rarible, like these things that are, you know, you're all organizing, and then you allow these other not you allow, but something like there needs to be more literacy about what it means to design a community or to serve communities, or because the communities that we're talking about don't exist on cryptocurrencies necessarily, and that's where I think the most growth is. Like, I'll
Yeah,
pause.
I have some kind of opinions on that. It's like, I mean, crypto in a whole is a community, right? And some of us are like super into DeFi, and some of us are more into the other things. But you have to put some skin in the game to join a community. You have to show that you're like willing to learn. A community doesn't necessarily need to go out and try to absorb everyone and try to like change their mind on how
The difference between a community and a church, right?
Right. Yeah. Like, so
lead by example
if you want
too.
to join the crypto community, then you got to learn a little bit about encryption, and you got to learn about MetaMask and like the 4 easy things that it really only takes about a half hour.
And economic theory and
Well, I mean, you can go as far down the rabbit hole as you want, but
Well,
I don't think that
my journey represents the bridge here, I think. Right, I was a painter, drawer person who became a crypto person, and what I would also say is that it takes time. It's really hard to make prescriptive like guides of how to build a community, because it's always contextual. It has a lot to do with the people involved, the current metrics of success, what that community aligns around as a valid way of living a life. So yes, I work on a daily trying to build manuals or insight or replicable fucking notions of how building a community is. And the deeper I get into it, the less prescriptive I feel comfortable being. And it will forever be an issue of presence. And it's the beautiful tension between identity and relationship, between being and belonging, and how people slowly, daily, in an interactive basis, decide that they want to share an identity, and that's what has also built MetaCartel. It's really hard to do this process well while trying to streamline or fast track it. That's the end of my rant.
Or more importantly, like, you're asking people to like cross the chasm and sign up for or get involved in your project or your platform or whatever you're doing. And like, so many people have been hyper focused on like, how do we bring mass market into this? When mass market? And I've now taken the complete opposite stance. I'm like, if they'll get here when they get here, and whatever causes it. And like, it's a noble effort for those who want to try and like create that platform or that pathway for bringing like the masses in. But the reality is like we should be celebrating Web3 as a culture, as a subculture. Like we should be building these things for us. We should be educating people the right way. And from like the first principles that we have, decentralization, sovereignty, privacy, all these anonymity, pseudonymity, right? Like these things, like if they're not already like pulling on you from a principle standpoint or a value standpoint, you're gonna like
you won't get involved.
They're gonna hit a wall too, where they're just like, I don't know why you care about this decentralization. Well, you're never gonna get this DAO stuff. You know, like it's like so
I think like it's
sovereignty, especially. I think I hit that one a lot with trying to jump to DAOs with people who don't know, the sovereignty, in that your key, your control, right? And that's everything. That's money. That's also your membership in organizations. But getting that part, if they don't understand, that part of it, it's really hard for them to understand the value of DAOs, because they're like, couldn't somebody just do this? And it's like, if you had read the sovereignty article, then you would realize, it's your keys, your control. There is no one that can do that. But
I think too, it's really.
I have sorry, go.
It's really interesting to see, like, in the last bull run in the 2017 era, the type of crypto projects that were coming out were like, like Uber on blockchain and Airbnb on blockchain, and how we're going to bring blockchain to mass adoption, and how we're going to like revolutionize supply chain and enterprise and all these like legacy businesses with blockchain, and none of those ended up happening. The only things that ended up working out were like the ones people like building stuff for the crypto community, building the tools for ourselves instead of trying to build it for someone else. And I think, at MetaFactory, we made a really intentioned decision on that as well, where like we're creating stuff for the crypto natives. We're not creating stuff for mainstream. We're trying to abstract away crypto. And I'm kind of proud that we did this before it was cool to do this, because everyone else in that phase was like trying to abstract away crypto. How do we abstract away gas? How do we abstract away wallets? How do we, like everything's going to go through DAI, and everything's going to go through these like email login wallets, and that's how the future is going to be. People don't have to know about crypto, but none of that ended up working out. And I think the crypto UX is actually the far superior UX. It's just that people have to change their minds. People need to like, go through that. They need to have that like neuroplasticity to like be able to like drop that legacy baggage and legacy thinking, and adopt the crypto way of thinking. And it is like you need it's like you have to fully immerse yourself to really get the most of it. You can't really get the full benefits of crypto without understanding that real culture of it. And with MetaFactory, it's like we made that like crypto native intention, but even though we did that, like we still have opportunities and avenues for non-crypto natives to get involved. And we reach out to them in terms of like fashion designers, like people who might not know, but give them access to these opportunities. So it's not even like mutually exclusive, right? We can be crypto native, and we can like build for ourselves, but also be inclusive to people who are willing to align themselves with our ideologies. And this is the thing, is that crypto ideology is nothing new, right? We just have a different set of tools. These ideas of like sovereignty and like people having their own control and own autonomy, and better value distribution, and anti like hyper capitalism in some way. Like all these things are values that have been a part of a lot of different communities and cultures and things like throughout history. And so you can tap into those people, and they can align with crypto ideologies more than even like some of the most technical people. So it's not even about the tech. It's really about that. What is this DAO culture all about? And I want to like ask We See Clearly too, because I know like you didn't like you were like fashion designer, artist, like all these sort of things. Like what was your like journey into crypto? Because you're someone who kind of just came in and really got it, and just kind of like went in head first and swam with the sharks and did all this stuff. So I want to see what caused that, or what enabled you to do that, and just to see if like how we can like replicate that with more people in the future.
I have a response.
Wait, maybe let's we See Clearly respond first, and then
because the thing is, Winston, just people who don't know We See Clearly, he's a core team member of MetaFactory, our garment specialist, and like Penguin. He's a soft-spoken guy, and we have to kind of defend their voice space. Winston goes for it. What?
Wait, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I just stepped inside because actually the birds are really loud. You know, when you were talking about community forming, how like you shouldn't have to reach out and pull people to the church. I feel like I'm having a very holographic experience of like there was an alignment and a build of ethics around what MetaFactory was building and around Web3 but I was kind of siloed within my immediate peer group, my geography maybe. But it's been a long build for I think part of it was just fatigue from the bulk of legacy art and fashion systems, which is where I'm coming from. One thing that like really kind of caught my attention was just seeing all of the like mutual shilling that was going on, where no one was afraid of people ripping off. It was more like, oh, you're here, let me bring you in, let's build something together. And in the fashion world, there's so much fear around who created something first. And even if you have this kind of like collaboration as marketing narrative, like you have North Face or you have like I don't know, whatever, something like that, still brand to brand, not brand to producer or brand to pattern maker or brand to artist. And I feel like when I saw that I could come into a community like MetaFactory Discord, basically be a total stranger weirdo, like dropping messages about like indigenous collaboration with like weavers and like cutting out Chanel, and for that to be received with enthusiasm, I feel like that was my litmus test to be like, are these people crazy enough to actually try things that the legacy never tried because they just don't know that it's possible. They're so entrenched in a paradigm of zero sum, like there's only place for one top dog and the rest of you have to fight your way to the top and it's always going to be this violent and I just felt like there was space to expand, space to also recalibrate because it wasn't an instantaneous like cultural shift for me internally. I feel like I'm still calibrating to the actuality that we can all kind of so yeah. That's what
And one of the things I've heard Deacon say a few times is just like, why would we pave the way for people that are going to replace us with, not people? The mainstream is not here to help us. We've got an edge up and a chance to make things for the creators and technologists. Like they're at our mercy right now. So why give them the keys to our cage, so to speak?
Yeah, we should help people deprogram themselves, but yeah, we don't want to be like the church.
I think
yeah, so I was just going to say that I think that the key here is you really don't want to expand too fast. Like making mainstream adoption the goal, I think misses the point. You really want to find something that that person's interested in, and if they're mainstream and that's their interest, and then you can actually get them into the crypto or DAO lifestyle that way. I think that's the obvious approach, and it's a bit more organic. It's a bit slower, but that's how you actually build it in a stable fashion. Otherwise, you're just going to end up with essentially the same thing we see in every one of these bull markets. Get a bunch of people join in for a few months to a year, and then they just leave the second things look hairy because they don't actually believe in anything at all.
Yeah, they just show up to try to bleed some value out of it and convert to fiat. What's the point in that? I've kind of like fast tracked my changing of thinking, and a lot of these guys in MetaFactory have like popped my bubble on collaboration and DAO thinking and stuff. Like I come with something like, oh, well, maybe we need to streamline this, and they're like, no, not at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the more confusing, the better.
Yeah.
Kind of.
I almost see mainstream adoption as like an anti-goal. Like if we get mainstream adoption, that means we probably failed and became like really lame and like just generic and because the things that have wide mainstream adoption right now are like Instagram. Like, what is Instagram? It's not like I don't aspire to be whatever Instagram is.
Instagram is just like a lure to everything your reptilian brain would ever want. Let me protect a little bit the space for Root Ross to his reply that he asked for before we see clearly spoke. Root.
Yeah, one thing quickly, Root Draws. I think actually the idea of a GoFundMe or whatever as in crypto is actually totally an awesome idea. I wasn't like talking down on that. Just that we don't need a like Facebook group, a fi,
Right.
Facebook, a fi, everything.
Yeah, I think well, I think maybe the best way to example what I'm trying to talk about is so I was shilling DAOhaus basically to like this friend of mine who has a long history inside of like punk and like collaborating with a lot of different musicians, and like they've organized their own shows, and they're very anti-capitalistic and whatnot, and it just sort of like, hey, if you just sort of da 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 da, you can all be shareholders and this and that. And what I'm sort of trying to talk about is that the social body that is the musicians and their collective audience, and even like maybe some of the venue people that they're involved in, I wouldn't classify these as like mainstream bodies. I would the closest thing that I would put it to is sort of like a co-op record label basically, and I think that DAOhaus and MetaFactory are basically like combined with the tools that are already being integrated. They're like spot on for what these people would need. And I think it's not even exclusive to what these people, because my point about the Kickstarters is like not everybody wants to be crypto fluent and whatever, and these people, their money is going to come from like fiat as well. But I just see this sort of interesting area where it's like the tools that can be all cool in crypto that is being provided by you guys meets up with their currently existing business model and social sphere, and then what that brings in new people into crypto while providing solid value to those small tribe-based groups outside. I think that's just my thought. I don't know what.
I think I agree, and I think what you're hitting on is actually like kind of what we've all been circling around, which is actually like adoption from a values first principle or like approach actually is what we're trying to create or like focus on versus like tech first. It's like it's actually like core of what makes this culture or this subculture, and like the principles and values that weave it together are more valuable almost than the tech that powers it, because it's just like put it on chain for what purpose, like purpose of putting it on chain, like. And so finding communities or groups inside of Web3, outside of Web3 legacy that have that same kind of thinking, they're going to be more receptive to it, and it's likely going to be like a better or more natural fit in that sense too, like subcultures like the punk movement or hip hop or whatever it might be. And I think you'll see those groups naturally take to this stuff more easily as well.
Also, our movement is born out of the encounter of the tech and punk spheres, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think the heuristic that I can extract from this conversation so far is that groups of people that get no problem, and don't feel like your space of sharing is over. It's a conversation. It's completely fine. What I was going to say is that the heuristic I can take from people that come together to scratch their own itch tend to keep scratching that itch, and anything that has an external source of validation attached to the goal. Sometimes it works, but most of the time it's so fragile, it's so corruptible. And having been here for about 2 years and a half, and having collaborated with a wide-ranging number of different groups, the ones that unapologetically decide to scratch their own itch seem to have survived the longest, and most importantly, even if they didn't, they seem to have had the most fun in the process.
I think a super killer point, Felipe. Like, I think about my own involvement in the space and like where that originated out of, and then I just think about like impermanence of the monetary incentives or the material aspects of getting involved in these different communities. Like, I don't really care about that. It's really scratching this itch and following that passion at the end of the day. And then when you do that, you know, you become so much more powerful, I feel like, from the standpoint of like what you can do. Like, you speak things into existence, and that's, I think, a lot of, you know, where this community was built off of is like, let's run fast and together. I mean, like,
That's the reality we want to build, like, and we want to see, right? Like,
which is why we focused on crypto natives first, right? Like, we did the same thing. Like, we felt, I mean, right? Like, we felt like when you're building something new, you know, yeah, like those people were going to run with it and find more value that can be created from it faster than like someone who's just understanding it for the first time or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, you know, like with the hip hop movement, it's like the artists back then weren't trying to like go to people who had no interest in hip hop to try to like get them to like, you know, be like, hey, you know, like check this out, like, you know, this is so cool. It was like it was kind of like from an inside out sort of thing, and it's really like amazing to see in terms of, you know, what do people like strive for in life, you know, like for a lot of people it's money, you know, and like accumulating a lot of that and thinking that buys you happiness, or, you know, for a lot of people it does, you know, money does buy happiness because it gives you access to opportunity, it gives you access to like space and time and resources and stuff. But, and, you know, crypto is a huge like provider for money too, but money is actually not the biggest value that crypto can provide for people, like in terms of like your sort of self-actualization and like, you know, feeling like you can make a difference in the world and like working in this space, like that value is like even bigger, you know, once you're a contributor to crypto. So like both monetarily and like from a self-fulfillment perspective, crypto like gives you both, where, you know, traditionally it's like, if you want to go for the money, you have to kind of like compromise on your morals and compromise on your values, and you know, you have to kind of become a corpo. But with crypto, there's a path for you to do both, you know, like really feel like you're having a positive change in the world, moving things into a better direction, doing things you're really passionate, enthusiastic about, and having that like financial upside. And I think like these two things put together is like what's really gonna, you know, make crypto eat the world. And it's like we don't need to like rush it or anything. It's happening. It's in motion. You know, like nothing's gonna stop it now. It's just like a generational thing. It's a matter of time. You know, a lot of us too. You know, where like I don't think crypto could have happened 10 years ago because like my generation, you know, I'm in my mid 20s, and you know, I grew up with the internet, playing video games, all these sort of things. Like I have that, like, you know, that mindset that aligns really well with crypto, you know, these internet natives. And as like this younger generation grows up into like, you know, graduating school, like getting into positions of like, you know, figuring out what they're doing in their career, like all these sort of things, like that's the generation of people that are gonna, you know, drive like mainstream adoption, quote unquote. It's going to be, you know, once the legacy, like old thinking, like those people in those positions of power start to move out, and people like us start to move into positions of power, that, you know, it's just a matter of time. You know, once we can have that, people grow up, these, you know, we have this like renewal of blood in these various systems. And, you know, so I think like it's not like we need mainstream adoption now. Like, you know, if ETH doesn't, you know, become global currency by the end of 2023, like we have failed. Like it's not that, you know, it's like whenever it happens, it's happening, you know, it's going to keep happening. Just, you know, enjoy the ride.
Yep. Friends, you make a
we
lot.
tend to,
But it,
as humans,
oh, go ahead, Drew.
real quick, yeah, as humans, we tend to overestimate the impact of technology in the short term, yet underestimate the impact of it over the long term. We saw this with the internet bubble. We saw this and we saw with asset pricing around the internet bubble. And now look, what I would say definitely more of the world is online than offline, even in developing countries and whatnot. And where we're at versus what we were, most of the things people were probably talking about in the bubble, the .com bubble, are actually becoming to fruition now. And like crypto, it's going to happen the exact same way.
More of the world's online than people in the world have access to clean water even. And that's like a huge testament to like, you know, what the internet did in terms of access to opportunity. And I think, you know, crypto is going to be similar in that way where it's going to have the biggest, most impactful difference in with, you know, people who didn't have access to these things before. You know, where like now any kid in Africa can watch the same like Stanford lecture on YouTube as, you know, someone who was in Stanford, which was not possible like, you know, 15, 20 years ago before the internet. And that internet was like
5 years
access to
ago.
information 5 years ago. And yeah, like internet
the
like
reason why I'm
enabled
here-
that access to information, right? Yeah. And then
I'm
with
a
crypto,
Brazilian.
with crypto, it gives you access to like the value flows too, you know, the internet of value, which is like, you know, information is good and all, but without money runs the world at the end of the day. Without value, you can't really do anything. So I think once you put those two together, it's going to really transform people's lives in a drastic way.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
we're seeing. Communication, as communication is becoming global, you know, the only thing that can spot or can support that kind of global communication is a global kind of currency. That's where like people they're coming in like crazy, but it's still the right people, and so we want to like support the right people as much as possible.
Yeah.
Like Raid Guild just launched its cohort season 1, and they had 50 Web2 professionals from non-technical and technical, all just like, we really just want to learn how this works. And like, I've been doing development for the last 15 years or whatever, and now I just want to learn how to do this. And it's like, it's pretty cool to see that you're getting people that are passionate about joining the community instead of like just throwing it in front of them. And you know,
there's a sweet spot. Yeah, but there's a sweet spot of friction. That's what I'm saying. Like but for example, every time you saw me pick up my phone now for the last 20 something minutes, it's me trying to help somebody from the Creator Get Up program to get into this chat. And they joined the Discord, but they somehow there's that welcome message that you have to send a castle to, and they just didn't read the message. And it took, like, I was busy here. It took me 10 minutes to realize, okay, so you're just not reading the fucking message. And when they finally did and tried to join this chat, they were like, oh fuck, the channel was full. So I just want to let you guys know that we've like maxed out House Party today. And read the fucking messages, man. And
And I did I boosted the server to level 2, y'all, but yeah, it didn't help.
Yeah, I think with video on, it limits it. But if everyone turns their video off, then more people can join. But yeah, even on the Twitch, we've had like 25 plus viewers, which I don't know how much you guys usually get, but it seems pretty solid.
Yeah, direct them to the Twitch too.
With you on, if we were on stage, we can have a lot more. Or if
stage channels
sharing was doing it through like OBS instead of video, that also works really well. You can have 50 through that, but
no, let's not get into this. It's fine to have limits. I want to show some couple of things before the end, especially season 1 or probably season 2 and all the other ways to get involved with Raid Guilds. That's a great way to like a pathway to get involved with DAOhaus and all the other things that the Moloch ecosystem are building. And specifically with MetaFactory, we are openly welcoming of people of all talents and interests to come by and add to the mix. I'm also coordinating with MetaFactory, personally working at the Creator Get Up program, which is trying to make these things more understandable. But as we learned today, maybe not completely easy and totally understandable. We still want you to have a component of like a unit of passion to throw in there, jump a couple of hurdles, because more people means more coordination costs, right? And we need to keep a certain amount of let's just put it this way: there ain't no love and definitely no orgasm without some friction, but it still needs to be a little bit gooey. So that's what we're trying to do.
It's the right kind of hurdles. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. It's the right kind of hurdles because like I'm thinking about the hurdles that it takes right now. If you're a creative person, but you know that in order to be seen or to have a certain job or to launch your fashion line, you have to go to London and go to Sentinel St. Martin's. that's not a hurdle that we want to perpetuate in the system. But if it's a hurdle that requires you to take action, to be, to align with your own passions and find where that energy is limitless and where you can give your infinite gifts, then it's the right kind of friction. And we want to facilitate and encourage that kind of self-activation.
Yeah, +1.
Yeah.
Also, like what you said earlier about like when the fashion industry and where you were coming from, that zero something. I mean, I come from like the design side of like super like boutique design firms, large design firms, large advertising agencies. I mean, in that industry, it was all the exact same as well. Everybody just trying to climb to the top, and I, yeah, there's definitely like part of the value first that's there, and I think we've all kind of felt that in various different industries.
Yeah, I feel
Well, I felt it in our industry as well. There's a company that I love, not a company, it's a DAO that I love, filled with people I love, but they work with the higher end of the crypto sphere, like the big companies, and we run design sprints. And I wanted to collaborate. They wanted me to collaborate, but it was very formal the way that they dealt with the clients, and you're not allowed to like smoke on camera. You're not allowed to drink on camera. And I was like, yeah, I want to be in this group, but it's not me. Like I just softly disappeared and went back to MetaFactory, which is what I've been doing so far. And then we hired them as a client, which is fun. But I'm not saying that they shouldn't be like that. But I was self-aware enough to say, hey, I want to be on something that I can be a degenerate little piece of shit dark poet and smoke on camera and drink on camera. And then I met Deacon and Zen, and they let me do it at my current gig. So that's great.
I mean, it's all about individuals, right?
If I kind of get a word. So kind of just like about like subculture evolution and like the composition of people that it takes to make a community. So one of the articles that was really powerful to me was something called Geeks, Mobs, and Sociopaths in Subculture Evolution. And I think one of the key things is like the Web3 natives.
So glad to hear somebody talking about that one. Also, the Gervais principle. Put them two together.
The people that get it are the geeks. Like we're gonna read it, we're gonna figure it out. Whether there's a mass of text and we have to click a castle icon, or we've got to play with a contract that has no front end. Like the Web3 natives are used to like fighting through the pain because they want to learn and do stuff. And we've got like a mass of people that are kind of need to get pushed along. Like we need them, and they're kind of like in the middle, but they're not the people that are actively out there hurting themselves to figure something out. Like
those are the mops, right?
Yeah. And so like, mops they're kind of like clueless as to how things work. They want to do things, they don't know how to participate. And
mops are like the moon boys.
Yeah.
No. Those are the sociopaths. I'm the mob.
Yeah.
I'm the mob. I'm the mob becoming a geek now. The sociopaths are the moon boys.
No, I don't know. Sociopaths are the VCs that are coming in and like forking off a VC chain, or trying to extract value every place they can, and like owning projects and not doing community first.
They're trying to game the system like everybody else does, right? Yeah, in the old world, like I mean, even when we were talking about like the wait, what generation are we at now? Is it Z? Generation Z, is that the youngest?
We're past the alphabet. We're doing symbols now.
Oh, damn!
Yeah,
but,
they're like
all the TikTokers and things, right? Like they're still trying to like take advantage of that old system, like through that means of like, becoming an influencer or whatever. Like they're people just trying to take advantage of the game of life with the things that they realize and know at the time. It'll be, there's like a whole different game of that over here, right? And there's, the sociopaths will be doing that all day, every day, individuals and VCs for sure. But
oh my god, so many shit coins.
Yeah, go to the
even like with
I'd love to talk about this with you when we have the call about, because we're about to like create the guidelines to how do we distribute operations tokens to the MetaFactory crowd, and it's like something that has so far fallen in the shoulder of the founders, and that's not only unfair but unfun, like fuck. So Penguin and I are starting like a process for us to create a community, some form of community. It's important that you give a read to the Gervais principle, which also relates to exactly the same thing at Ribbon Farm, and do that before Tuesday, before our call. It's going to make a difference.
Yeah, I love
On
that. Great article.
That comment on there kind of being some kind of hurdle or like little entry level barrier into adapting and getting involved in like a DAO and community lifestyle. I think my interpretation on like why that's necessary is it's almost, it forces you to snap out of some kind of legacy like thinkings when it comes to collaboration and really being unrestricted and open and choosing to like not be so much directed, but doing some self-discovery on what are my strengths and what can I contribute to something and why do I want to do it. And if you get a DAO that's done right, where it's something where it's like, look, if you come in and you collaborate and bring value, like it will be returned to you X-fold. Like, and to a lot of anybody in legacy, I know for me personally, like there's walls that we put up where you're reluctant to share your gifts or your talents or your ideas. There's this whole narrative of like ownership and like I can't talk about my $1 billion idea because somebody's going to steal it. Somebody's going to get a patent on it and all this stuff. And all these ideas and like actions, they die unrealized because people are too scared to actually take the step out of their comfort zone, find people to collaborate with and to build the shit or to do the shit. And so adapting into a DAO or something, like if you can separate yourself from that and be like, look, even if somebody steals my idea, like it's not going to happen in the right DAO because you're going to do it together. And even if somebody does, oh well, like if it was a great idea, at least it now exists in the world and it's built.
Yeah.
And people realize that came from you, and that's a little check on your card on dope things that you can contribute. Worst case scenario, you come up with some ideas and your friends and stuff in the community say, no, Steve, that's a terrible idea. Sit down. And you're like, okay, back to the drawing board.
Yeah, I think
That's really how it works, right? It's like, here's my idea, it's so awesome, and I'm not going to tell anyone, and then it never gets made. But you tell someone, and they're like, no, that's a stupid idea. But if you did something like this, then maybe it's a little better. And then someone else comes in and is like, no, wait, add this, and now you have something emerging that really is a good idea.
Yeah.
And
there's very few things that are good ideas or good executions that were born out of good ideas. It's the resolve and the consistent iteration of a stupid but emotionally charged idea that becomes incredible good things. This is not always true, but it's definitely true way more than 65% of the time. I want to show something else. I want to show something else for people to read. Just a second, because I want to have more friends that read these two articles, and I want to have more friends that read the book Walk Away by Cory Doctorow. There's really like everything that we are building on in the DAO space is somewhat codified in these two articles in this book. So give it a read, call me, come over to my future home in Portugal. I'll make you a drink, whatever drink you like, and we can talk about it.
Love Dr.
On my way.
Cool. Well, I guess we're over time now, but that was a super fun combo.
Yeah, damn it. Thanks for thoughts. Good to have you all.
So next week, I want to do an episode about DAO working styles. So maybe the less cultural and more PM version of this episode. And you guys are welcome to come back. And also DM me if you have any agenda ideas specifically that you want to bring. As you might have noticed, I say a bunch of stupid shit, but there's a deep seriousness running behind my surface stupidity. And we're all working for a solution. For this, I thank you deeply, because life has to be powerful, but it also has to be ridiculous. And honestly, I don't think we can avoid it, so might as well embrace it. I love you all, and thanks for sharing time in my garden. Any final considerations from MetaDreamer? Drew is still here. Drew, we see clearly. Deacon, Van, Crypto Accord, Bao, all my dear trench partners. Penguin as well. Shoot it like it is.
I'll just say, like, keep having fun. You know, like we say that you can't compete with someone who's having fun. You know, and it's like there's a lot of people that try and they'll aggravate themselves over it, but as long as you're having fun, you're winning. That's really what matters.
Don't take yourself too seriously, Metacartel. Yeah.
Hey, thanks for having us on the call. It was awesome.
Oh, you made it.
Go.
Yeah. All right, see you all.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Ciao, ciao. I hope you guys claimed your POAPs because too late now. Fuck.